Good morning, everyone. Today we will start with the first lecture, signals and systems. Okay. So before I start this one, if you go to the what you call the lecture series of the 2020 autumn semester, you will find that uh, we have covered approximately 40 lectures over there. Okay. However, this time we will not be able to cover that many lectures uh, because, as per the institute administration, we need to finish all the courses within first week of December. Okay, so we'll be getting hardly 25 to 30 classes maximum. So we'll be having 10 classes short. So, keeping that in mind, I will be mainly hushing through the lectures. And if any one of you find that they are not able to understand properly, they can go through the lectures of the 2020 uh, autumn semester lectures. Okay. Yesterday I have shared the link with you guys. So you can first have a uh, look at that at those lecture, and still if you are not able to understand properly, then let me know. We can have a doubt clearing session on that. But these introductory lectures, what I will be teaching on signals and systems, and up till the transforms, I will be hushing through because these are meant for just refreshing your knowledge, and those who have not studied, just to give a basic idea of what they will be expecting in the future lectures. Okay, because without the basis of this fundamental knowledge of these signals and systems and transforms, they will not be able to understand the later portion nor the parts which I will be covering later on. Okay, so I feel I am clear to you guys. So now today I will start with the first lecture on signals and systems. Okay, what is a signal? A signal, it is a set of information or data which changes with time. Okay, so when we talk about biomedical signal processing, this signal, these are of biomedical importance. Okay, now what do you mean by biomedical? Yesterday we have talked that the biomedical means anything related to the human body. Okay, so what are biomedical signals? So biomedical signals are the signals which are generated from the human body. Okay, so there are a number of biomedical signals. I have named some of those. First one is the respiratory signals. Okay, second type is action potential based signals. Someone was asking me yesterday to go through the action potential. I have talked with Professor SSRA, and he has assured me that this action potential topic will be covered by Professor SSRA. Okay, so you need not to worry. So in this action potential based signals, we can have two types of signals. One is, just a minute, self excitatory, as in ECG signals. Okay, and then there might be another category where you need to give a stimulus. Examples: EMG. Okay, we can have this uh, EMG is one of the classical example. Then we can have this EGG, electrogastrogram, wherein uh, the ingestion of the food, it acts as the stimulus. Okay, even EEG, even though it can be either self-excitatory or it may be also stimulus induced. Okay, because suppose you are watching movie, so while watching the movie you are giving a stimulus. However, if you think when you are keeping your eyes closed and you are thinking about something, at that time also there will be the generation of some EEG signals, and those signals uh, are not due to some excitation. Okay, so action potential based signals, they are there. Okay, respiratory signals are there. So then third type is the dipole moment based signals. We have learned yesterday that these type of signals are basically given by the eyes while we acquire the EOG signals. Electrooculogram. Okay, in most of the biomedical signals you will find that we are discussing mostly about either ECG signals, EEG signals. EEG means electroencephalogram, ECG is electrocardiogram, then electrooculogram, electromyogram, and then respiratory signals. These are the common signals which we study. Okay. Now we have understood signals. So what we have said, that it is a set of information or data which changes with time. Okay, ECG, if you see, it changes with time. EEG, it changes with time. EOG, it changes with time. EMG, it changes with time. And the respiratory signals, it also changes with time. So what is the information content in the ECG? The information content in the ECG uh, provides us what do you call, some type it provides an information about the cardiac activity. So the ECG signals, it provides information about the cardiac activity, and by analyzing the ECG signals we can say whether the signal is being whether there are any what do you call, pathophysiological conditions in the atrium or the ventricle, or is there any problem in the conduction from the SA node to the AV node of the heart. Okay, these are some of the examples. You can find out many other types of pathological conditions just by analyzing the ECG signals. Then from the EEG signals we can understand uh, whether the person is having an attention deficit problem or not. Okay, or which part of the brain it is getting more activated while we are giving some stimulus. Okay, so there when we talk about the EEG signals, there are different waves. Okay, so the changes in the patterns of the wave, they provide us information whether the brain is acting properly or not. Then when we talk about the the EOG signals provide us information how our eye it is working, and it is one of the non-invasive way to have an understanding about the eye physiology. However, mostly it is being used to develop this control systems for the rehabilitation devices. However, it can also be used to have an understanding whether the ocular physiology it is working properly or not. As I told you that the EOG it is basically a dipole moment which is being created between the retina and the cornea. Okay. Now, if there is any problem, metabolic problem at the cornea, at the retinal level, then there will be a change in the dipole moment, and indirectly from there we can say that there might be some problem with the retinal layer. Okay. Then EMG it provides us information how our muscles they are working. Okay. So we can find out uh, the degeneracy in the working capability of the muscles using the EMG signals. And respiratory signals, as we know, from there we can find out whether the respiration is proper or not, how the lungs are functioning, and all these things. So by analyzing all these signals, we can see that we can extract some information from these kind of biosignals. Okay, and we can see all these biosignals they changes with time. Yeah, another important biosignal which I forgot to mention over here is the speech signal, which are physical waves. Okay, from the speech signals we are able to understand whether there are any problem with the speech development of the person. Okay, so next comes out to be signal processing. So what is signal processing? Yesterday I have told you that signal processing it is a method of extracting information from the signal by carrying out algorithmic operations on the signals. It is dependent on the type of signal and the nature of the information it carries. Okay. So I would give you a simple example. Let us take the example of the ECG over here. So the from ECG we can find out the heart rate of a person. Okay. So for finding out the heart rate of a person, I may be interested in finding out the RR interval of the ECG signals. Now I have introduced a new term RR interval. What is RR interval? You all be knowing that if you consider this as the ECG signal, so we are having P, Q, R, S and T waves. These would be there and there will be a consequent another peak where we will be having another PQRST. Now what is an RR interval signal? We know that x-axis it is time and y-axis is amplitude. Okay, so what is the RR interval? What do you mean by RR interval? RR interval is the time duration between two R peaks. So when I extract this interval and plot it over time, then the signal is regarded as RR interval. So over here I am having delta t for the say delta t 0 for the first RR interval. For the next RR interval I may be having delta t1 and so on. So if I plot for x0 I have delta t0, x1 I am having delta t1 and so on. I will be getting a signal, xy signal, right? And this xy signal it is regarded as RR interval signals, wherein the amplitude value is nothing but the interval between the two RR peaks. Okay, so this we can find out. Now from this signal we can find out the what you call HRV signals also, or HRV parameters, which we call heart rate variability. So we all consider that our heart is beating rhythmically, but it is not so. The reason being, our heart is being innervated with the autonomic nervous system, which is having two branches, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. And the activity of these two nervous systems, they are helping our heart to maintain the heart rate. Okay. However, uh, think of a condition when you are sitting, your heart rate is having a particular basal level. But when you stand up and start running, what happens? The heart rate changes. And again, when you sit down, slowly you will find that your heart rate is coming to the basal level. So, if we consider this, I mean to say that even though we say that ECG signals are periodic in nature, but in practicality they are not periodic in nature. Okay, because when we are giving stress to our heart, its pattern may be same, but its frequency changes. Okay, so if you see from the ECG, I have directly calculated the error interval, and from this error interval, depending upon what algorithmic operation I will be performing, I may get information about the heart rate, or I may get information about the heart rate variability. Okay. Then similarly, just by looking into the ECG signals, I should be able to tell the pathological conditions. Okay. Nowadays, there are various tools which are regarded as CAD, where CAD stands for computer aided diagnosis. So using the CAD, you can find out the pathophysiological changes within the heart. Okay. So not only in the heart, so if you take ECG, you will be able to get information about the heart pathophysiology. If you take the EEG signals, you will be able to get information about the brain activity pathological changes. Similarly, about we can get information about the the functioning of the other organs too, organs and tissues too, right? So basically, what happens is over here is that signal processing, it is basically objective oriented. Excuse me. It is an objective oriented process. So the signal processing technique may vary depending upon what is your goal. Okay. I hope I have been able to make you understand. Does anybody have any problem? Anyone has any problem till now?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, good. So this is called signal processing. Okay, so we have seen that signal processing, it is an objective oriented process where we have a fixed goal, and depending upon what goal we want to achieve, we will carry out certain algorithmic operations onto the signal so that we can get the output of our desired what you call desired properties. Okay, so now the signal processing, it can be carried out either in the analog domain or in the digital domain. So initially the signal processing was developed in the analog domain. So we have analog signal processing. So suppose we are getting the ECG signals from the ECG sensors. Okay. Now these ECG sensors are being placed over the human body, and they capture the ionic signals, and then it is being converted into the these electronic signals. Okay. So ECG signals, they are basically ionic signals. Okay. What do you mean by that? I have used two words, ionic and electronic. Anyone who can tell me what is the difference between the ionic and the electronic signals? Anyone?
Sir, so it is
Yes, I
the
couldn't hear you.
ionic signals are the signals that are produced due to the flux of ions inside and outside of the cells.
Yeah, you are
And
correct. So the ionic signals, if you look into our all our human body tissues and organs and even the cells, they are but or not only but within them also you will find there are several ions like sodium ion, chloride ion. You will be finding potassium ions. You can find calcium ions. So the movement of these ions, they generate the potential, and hence the signals which are present within our body, they are basically ionic potentials. Okay, because the movement of the or the generation of these potentials is due to the movement of the these ions. Whereas when we put the ECG signals, they sense these ionic signals and then they convert it into the electronic signals, where we use the electronic circuit, and in the electronic circuit we know the what you call the propagation of the signal, it is being done by the electrons, and hence the signals in within this electronic circuit, they are basically the electronic signals. So the ECG sensors, it converts the ionic signals to the electronic signals. Okay, now we have the ECG signals, then we have the electronic circuits. Now in the electronic circuits, we have a combination of various analog components like R, L. R means resistance, L means inductance, C means capacitance. Apart from this, we may have field effect transistors. Okay, we may have MOSFET transistors. We may have operational amplifiers, and so on. Okay, so what is the characteristics of all of these components? They can take values, amplitude values, in the range of minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so we get the signals, we have the electronic circuit where it can take the signal having an amplitude of minus infinity to plus infinity, and based upon the nature of the circuit, what will be we are will be designing, we'll get a processed output signal wherein the amplitude level, it remains in the range of minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so even the input signal over here, it can have an amplitude in the range of minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so the definition of the analog signal is that the amplitude of the signal should be able to vary in between minus infinity to plus infinity. So in each and every step, in the step 1 when we are acquiring the signal, in step 2 when we are processing the signal, and in the step 3 when where we are getting the processed output signal, in all of here we are getting uh, signals which can have values in the range of minus infinity to plus infinity. So this type of processing, where we use an electronic signal, electronic circuit to process the analog signals, it is regarded as analog signal processing. Okay. But there are certain disadvantages of the analog signal processing systems, and hence digital circuits, they are being proposed. Why they are being proposed? Because the digital circuits, they are less sensitive to changes in component values. What do you mean by component values? Suppose I ask you to bring a 1 kilo ohm resistance. Okay. Now suppose when we talk of 1 kilo ohm resistor, if you remember your class 11 12 physics class, a resistor cannot be a fixed value resistor. 1 kilo ohms does not mean it will be having a 1 kilo ohm resistance. Okay. So what it may have, you may have 990 ohms resistance. Okay. Or you may have say 1.1 kilo ohm resistance. Am I right? This variation, it is due to the variation in while we are making the resistance. Okay, it is not possible to exactly make a 1 kilo ohm resistance. Okay, so because of these variations, suppose you are developing one circuit, say I would say that it is circuit A and it is giving a gain of 2. You are expecting that it should be a gain of 2, but you have used a value of 990 ohms. So will you be getting no, you will be getting a value of a gain of 2? No, you will not get a gain of 2. It may be, say for example, it is having a gain of 1.9. Now another person, he comes and he designs the same circuit, and he uses 1 kilo ohm resistance, but however what is happening is that he is having a resistance of 1.1 kilo ohm, or right, or say 1.01 kilo ohm. Okay, so in this condition, what will happen? In this condition, you may have a value greater than 2, say 2.1. So even though you are using 1 kilo ohm resistance, since you cannot make an exact 1 kilo ohm resistance, there will be a change in the component values, and due to that change in the component values, your ultimate output may be changed. And this is not only true for the resistance, it is also true for the inductors, it is also true for the capacitors. Okay. Then next, temperature. We all know if you increase the temperature, the resistance of a wire, it decreases. So in analog circuits, there will be changes in there will be changes in the output of your circuit. Then aging, we all know, as the electronic components, they are being they are kept at a place for a longer time, the performance of the analog circuit varies, and this process, it is called aging. And there are other external parameters like there might be humidity. Okay, the presence of humidity, it may change. There might be power line which is going across your device, and it will create electromagnetic interference into the device, so your output of the analog signal processor, it may change, and there are many other things. So these external parameters will affect your performance of your analog system. However, in digital circuits, this is not the case. Once you have taken the signal into the digital circuits, everything is mathematical operation. Okay. So you are just doing some calculation. Now that calculation, it will always be perfect. If you want to multiply your signal with the value of 2, it will always be 2, because you have put a value of 2 into the digital circuit to get that output, which was not true in the case of the analog circuits. Okay. Some of the advantages of these digital circuits are flexibility in reconfiguration of DSP operations. So in a particular what do you call, when you want to implement these digital circuits, you need to have some digital signal processors. Okay. Now what are these processors? You will find these processors in microcontrollers and microprocessors themselves. Microcontrollers, they contain these microprocessors. Okay. So over there, in these processors, the processing takes place. Okay. Now suppose you want to make one project today and it is working fine. Now tomorrow you come back and you want to make some addition into your project, which you are making using the microcontrollers. You can definitely do it by changing some algorithms within the processor. Okay. Now that thing where you were initially having one program, and again you are modifying it and making another program, but you are running it onto the same microprocessor or the microcontroller, that is called reconfiguration. Okay. Because you are changing the program to have a more advanced or a changed output. So it is possible to do in the microprocessors and the microcontrollers in an easier way, because you just have to go and you just have to write a command of 1 or 2 lines and your output will be changed. But this is not the case in the case of analog signal processors, where you need to change the whole circuits. Okay. Then accuracy, as I told you, uh, digital circuits, they are more accurate. Then easy storage, you can store the data of the digital circuits in a pen drive, in a CD, in a DVD, okay, and so on. Then next, storing this data, it is quite cost effective. Okay. Because you just need say nowadays the CDs are available at a price of around 10 also, right? Rupees 10. So you can buy it at cheap. But if you want to store the data in the analog domain, you have to make big circuits of capacitors, because in analog domain, the what do you call, the storage is being done in the capacitors. Okay. But these capacitors also have certain disadvantages. There will be leakage of signals from the capacitor over a period of time. So uh, that is not the case if you use the pen drive, CD or DVD. And also making a circuit of capacitors, capacitor based circuits, to store a large amount of data, it will need a huge, not only a huge space, it will require a huge investment also. Okay. And because of this reason, the storing of data and the maintenance of this analog analog signal processing systems is quite expensive as compared to the storing of the data in the digital circuits. Okay. Now what is coming to the digital signal processing? We have understood what are digital circuits, what are its advantages over the analog circuits. Now we need to understand what do you mean by digital signal processing. So signal processing, as I have already told you, that it sorry sorry so signal processing, it is a process of mm, what do you call, doing some mathematical operation, legible mathematical operation to obtain some information from a particular signal. Now, when we talk about this or include this digital word, it means we are doing this processing in the digital domain. Okay. So, say for example, we take the ECG signals. So, can we do the processing directly in the this digital processing unit? No. Why? As I told you, the ECG sensors, it transforms the ionic current to the electronic current. Okay. And digital signals, they can only take digital input. Okay. And for converting these electronic signals, which are basically the analog signals, to the digital signals, we need the help of an analog to digital converters. Okay. Now there is a problem over here. So we can you can say I can take the signal and directly apply it to the analog to digital converter, and then it will be directly fed into the digital processing unit. But there is a problem, and there is a criteria which is called Nyquist criteria. Nyquist criteria, where it is said that our sampling frequency should be greater than equal to 2 of FM. Okay. ECG signals, it is having frequency range in the range of 0.05 to say in some books you will find 120 hertz, and in some books you can find it is up to 150 hertz. It depends. So say for example we take it as 0.05 to 120 hertz. Okay. Now herein the maximum frequency is 120. Okay. So when we are talking about this thing, our sampling frequency should be, as I am we are writing over here, the maximum frequency is 2 of FM. So FS, sorry. So our FS should be greater than equal to 240 hertz. But as I said, these are analog signal. Okay. And when you talk about the analog signals, all of you must have heard of this Fourier series. What does the Fourier series says? Fourier series says that any periodic signal, it is being reconstituted using an infinite number of sinusoids. Similarly, the Fourier transform, it says that any aperiodic signals, they can be reconstituted with infinite number of sinusoids, wherein your amplitude and the frequency components, they are varying, right? That means your frequency is varying from 0 to infinity in real sense, and in a real world, and theoretically it varies from minus infinity to infinity. I'm talking about frequency. Okay. So if an analog signal, it is being varying in the range of minus infinity to infinity, so how do you get FM? It is not possible to get FM, right? So in that case, we have to restrict the signal to 120 hertz. So how do you restrict it? The restriction of the signals in terms of the frequency, it is being done using a filter, wherein we call it the anti-aliasing filter. This anti-aliasing filter is nothing but a low pass filter. Okay. And it would be having a cutoff frequency of, in this case, cutoff frequency of 120 hertz. So once we have restricted the signal within 120 hertz, then only we can use this ADC, wherein the sampling frequency can be a minimum of 240 hertz. Okay, so our signal now will be converted from the analog domain to the digital domain. Now this digital signal will be fed into the digital processing unit. Okay, then it will be processed over here, and from here you can take the printout. You can show the results in a display. Okay, depending upon what you want, but we are not looking into this thing at this moment. So if you prefer this part, then this would be the end of your process. However, there is another process wherein you may be interested in converting these digital signals into analog signals again, and then from these analog signals you need to pass the signal through the reconstruction filter. So what is the reconstruction filter? So when you have these analog signals, the digital signals, you will be having some amplitude values, say here. So how it will vary? So when you convert it into the analog signal, you will be getting a pattern which is called staircase. You get a staircase pattern like thing, right? Now, does any what do you call? Does any analog signal looks like this? No, it is not practically possible. So it should look like a continuous signal, right? Now, under these circumstances, we need to use the reconstruction filter, which is again a low pass filter, where herein the low pass filter, it acts as an averager, and it creates a creates an envelope. Okay, so it creates an envelope. Now, how does the envelope look like? It would be looking something like this. Now, after the application of the reconstruction filter, where we have generated the envelope, we get the analog signal. So herein we have started with analog signal. We have applied certain techniques to convert the analog signal to the digital signal. Then we have put the digital signal into the digital processing unit. Now in this digital processing unit, we process the signal, and after the processing of the signal we can display it, or if you want to generate again the analog signal, you can reconvert the signal into the using the digital to analog converter, and then the uh, analog signal, which is basically having the staircase pattern, it is being passed through the reconstruction filter to get the actual analog signal, which would look like just like the what do you call, it would look like just like your original signals, okay, which have been acquired from the biological stuff. So it will be having a continuous pattern like thing, right? Now, advantages of DSP, I have already discussed: guaranteed accuracy, flexibility, superior performance, there would be no drift, adaptability, okay, perfect reproducibility, multiplexing. What is this? What do you mean by this? Multiplexing means processing a data, processing multiple datas at a time. Okay, so if you want to do this using an analog signal processor, you need to create a set of different analog architectures, and which would be having similar characteristics, and then you go for this processing. Okay. However, in DSPs, you can just take the signals and put it into the processor, and it will be able to process the signals quite easily without any problem. Then you can go for the easy data logging for a longer period of time, which is not possible in the analog signal processing technique. And again, low frequency capability is there. If you consider the analog signal processor which uses capacitance, so capacitors, if you know, you must have studied in your analog electronics class of your graduation. That's capacitance. They block this low frequency. It blocks the low frequency components, right? So you will be blocking the low frequency component. So processing the low frequency things using RLC circuits, it becomes a bit tedious. Okay. Now, disadvantage of DSPs, increased system complexity. Definitely, yes, because you need to use a lot of circuits. If you see, you need to use anti-aliasing filter, you need to use analog to digital converter, you need to use digital processing units, you need to use DAC, digital to analog converter. Then again, you need to use reconstruction filter. So if you see, there is a whole lot of complexity over here. Even if when we talk about ADC and digital processing unit, designing of these units are also very mm, uh, complex. Okay. Then speed and cost. Cost of designing a DSP would be higher if you want to make a smaller circuit or a simpler circuit, and for a smaller yeah, uh, for a smaller circuit, the speed of the analog systems, it is faster than the DSPs. Then finite word length effects. What are these? Suppose when you are digitizing the signal, you are having different levels. So for a 3-bit signals, we would be having 8 levels. Okay. So suppose while you are doing this, so you have to round off the value. Suppose you are having 1.49 value, it will be rounded to 1. And if you have sorry, yeah, and if you have 1.5, just a difference of 0.01. In case of 1.5, it will be rounded off to 2. So this rounding of errors, they will be including some errors into the processing itself, and those errors, it is regarded as finite word length error effects. Okay. So comparison, analog signal processing, it is speed, it is fast, and in DSP it is moderate. Cost, low to moderate, moderate. Flexibility, low to moderate, very high, because you can at any time, depending upon your need, you can change the program and you can get a different output. Performance, moderate, it is having a high performance. Self calibration, analog signal processing it does not have, whereas digital signal processing it is possible for self calibration. Then data logging capability, uh, considering that nowadays the capacitor based systems are no longer used for data logging capability, so it is a no in the case of analog signal processing. However, in digital signal processing, definitely you can store the data in thumb drives and DVDs, CDs, and all these things. Adaptive capability, it is having quite limited thing, whereas in digital signal processing, we have a uh, we can have a very high degree of adaptive capability. Okay. So application of DSP, we can use it in space. So you must be knowing about the Chandrayaan program of ISRO. Uh, they have sent the satellite to the moon, and the moon is sending data to the uh, to our Earth, and we can understand the uh, environment of the moon in a better manner, right? So how it is being sent? the image is being captured from the moon surface, then it is being transmitted. How it is being done? We have the DSP. In business, every one of you have heard of stock market. So in stock market, you can have you can use the DSP to have some profits. Okay. Then in science, you can use it. Suppose you want to manufacture antibiotic. Okay. So in an antibiotic, it is being uh, synthesized in a bioreactor. So you have baffles over here, then you have stirrer, then you have some input and output. Some input will be your raw materials. Then over here you will be having some bacterias. Okay. Then pH, temperature, all of this has to be uh, precisely monitored, and they have to be uh, kept within the certain range. Okay. So you have different sensors, so you can have multiplexing from there. Then it goes to a control system, and which then controls the input to this bioreactor. So you can use this the DSP to improve the productivity of your anything. I have given the example of this antibiotics, but it can be anything else also. Then industry, uh, one of the classical examples is Asian Paints industry. So those who don't know, I would advise them to go through the history of the Asian Paints. Uh, they are one of the first industries from India who have um, used DSP to improve their sales. Okay, so you can go through the history of the Asian Paints. Then military, you think of the night vision cameras, you think about the armor vehicles, you think of the tanks, whatever you think of, we use the DSPs over there. Then communication, we communicate with each other through mobile, via email. Uh, Not only by this, we have these digital IP phones also, which helps us in communicating with the persons who are staying far apart from them, far apart from us. Okay. Then lastly, in medicine, I already told CAD, computer aided diagnosis, it can be used. Then there are various other devices based on uh, Internet of Things, which can help us in uh, delivering drugs to the patients from a remote location. Okay, these are some of the examples. So you should be prepared for a 5 marks question, a descriptive question on the applications of DSP. Okay, for your exams. So with this, I conclude today's lecture. If any one of you have any questions, please let me know. Anyone having any questions? No?
Sir, the reconstructed signals are basically discrete signal or what, sir?
Which reconstruction? Reconstruction filter?
No, sir. Sir, in the digital signal processing step, sir. After using the reconstruction filter, we got a pattern
After having
like
this digital to analog filter, everything is analog. The name herein suggests that digital to analog converter.
okay.
Herein, it is ADC. That means analog to digital converter. So after this block, over here we are having the digital components. Okay, digital signal components. Then when we have entered into DAC, the entry is digital signal, whereas the output is the analog signal. In the
Yes,
reconstruction
sir.
filter, you're getting the analog signal.
Okay, sir.